Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. This is the 1 year anniversary of this channel. I'll be spending this anniversary over in the ditch along the road, getting it ready to plant all this stuff. What I need to do is rake up all the grass and plant debris from last year and get it ready to burn. Or I might try burning it with a torch today. I'm going to have to get in there and see what it looks like. But I'm going to start out in here. Most of the stuff is off mats now. And there's a lot of stuff that hasn't come up very well. This is the wild lupine. Well, this looks like maybe half, maybe a little more. There's a couple little ones coming up. I was getting a good deal of yellowing like this, so I changed these to a slotted base. These all had solid bases like this, so you can bottom water them. Now I have slotted bases, and for the most part I can water these from the top now. I'm hoping that any of the yellowing is just from overwatering and will be cured by drying out a little bit. The problem with growing stuff in flats like this is you have to keep it moist around the seed, but if you have early starters, those plants will be exposed to a whole lot of water for a long time while they wait for all the other ones to sprout. So, I mean, if you can get in there with a small watering can and water from the top, that would be ideal. The biggest problem with the seedlings like this is dampening off. If you're watering from above, sprinkling them when they're small like this, you have a real good chance of getting dampening off fungus, which will kill the entire flat, or it could kill all of them. And I don't want that. I've had it before. I think it was the first time I ever tried growing from seed. I had dampening off that killed just about everything. Oh, I think I had it last year as well on my lilacs. It's dampening off is a gray mold that'll attack the plant. So there's with these cotyledon, I never know if that's correct or not. The seed leaves, those end up yellowing and dying no matter what, because the plant uses them as food. Until it uses them up, they will shrivel up and fall off at some point. So you can't really go by them like this right here. But, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully they, like this one was really yellow, and it still is in areas, but some of them, like this one and this one, are doing really well. So, again, these will be allowed to dry or become nearly dry, which is what you do to harden them off anyways, but got to be watched real careful, because if they're dry and it gets hot in here, it'll just kill them like that. So, delicate balance coming up. And I mean, these are doing really nice, these pale purple coneflower, and that's a fairly rare flower in Wisconsin, native wildflower. The Gloriosa daisy, which is just Rudbeckia, it's a variety of black-eyed Susan. I planted them maybe a week ago. There's a video on that, and they're turning into salad already. So these are going to go off the heat pretty soon, but I got to thin these real quick And the sky blue aster, it hasn't done much. I mean, it would look like this after a few days, I think, and it hasn't done much. The thing about seedlings is once they come up, they gather energy through their leaves, and they spend a lot of time making roots before they do much above ground. Once they start looking like this one, they have pretty extensive roots down below. This one will need to be transplanted pretty soon. So there's going to be a lot of work in here coming up. June grass. I mean, most of this stuff happened right away. This is the only one that's kind of new. Well, I guess this one's fairly new, but not much action there. The purple milkweed, I would say that has the worst germination rate, and they, you know, look on the sickly side. There is, like, that's a new one right there. That's a new one right there. They're kind of hard to see, but oh, I guess that's one right there. They had some yellowing problems as well. From the color on the leaves there, that looks like an iron deficiency. That doesn't look like from overwatering. So I don't know. I might have to read up on this. I could add a little iron, but I don't know. That's pretty dangerous with seedlings. You don't want to do much fertilizing at all with little seedlings. And the purple prairie clover, again, this stuff came up really fast, and then it just kind of went into a holding pattern while it's growing roots, I'm guessing. And you have like two different, this is, I mean, this looks like a clover. This, we're trying to contact this king LED. If you even touch this wire, this light goes on and off. It's got a bad plug or something, so really pisses me off. I'll fix that in a second. Okay, all better. I was going to do a much longer video on these lights, but now I got to contact them and tell them that there seems to be something wrong with the one I got. But that is a pretty damn powerful light. I don't know how much you can tell by the video, but it certainly is. So on these, there's several different looks. I don't know. I'm guessing some of these are just, you know, some look just like clover, and some actually look like lupine, or the majority of them look like lupine. So they'll have to get a little bigger, and maybe they'll all even out and start looking the same. But right now it looks pretty much like there's a couple different plants in here, and some of them might be weeds. I will show you where I got all the seeds from at a later date. I don't have my book out here. This is my least productive, and I had high hopes for this. It's a really cool looking grass. So I'm probably gonna contact the company. Can't tell you the name of it. I only got this one type of seed from them. It's kind of hard to find. It's actually wavy hair grass. What is it, Deschampia? I can't think of the Latin name right now, but hopefully this is actually the wavy hair grass. There's only two of them that look viable. This looks like another kind of grass. So I have really no idea on this. I'm going to contact them and see what their recommendations are for starting these. I know they're supposed to have light, so, you know, I had to pick out these tiny little seeds, and I put one in each of them, and just lightly sprinkled this vermiculite on top. So they have light, but the germination was pretty poor. Somebody else commented that they had, on their website, they commented that they only had 50% germination. This is nowhere even close to that, and there wasn't enough seeds in the packet, so pretty disappointed with the wavy hair grass. Hopefully these actually are wavy hair grass and I can get some seeds from them next year. But I was planning on planting, a fairly good sized area with it, and now I'll have to keep that area bare until I can fill it in with this, which is, more work for me. Okay, that's about enough in here. Don't really need to water anything, and I don't need any fans on. It's cool today. It's 42 outside, it's 48 in here, and it's kind of breezy. It's a nasty day. Not nice at all. But I gotta go get that ditch prepared and take its temperature. As soon as the ground is 50 degrees for a couple days is the time to spray Preemergent. And what Preemergent does, it interacts with the seeds and doesn't allow them to germinate. I believe it's a hormone, a plant hormone, that doesn't allow it to germinate, but I could be mistaken. So I got to take the temperature again, but what I got to do is rake the ditch up, get all the junk that's in there, get it into piles, get it ready to burn it if I can, but it's not likely because it's too windy. Then I got to mix up some water with dye in it and spray the entire thing to see how much liquid it takes to spray the entire thing. Then I need to mix my Preemergent according to the square footage of what I sprayed and how much liquid it took to do it. It's fairly complicated, but it needs to be done that way. So I got to mix up some dye and water. I got to measure the ditches. It's a real pain in the butt, but it'll help me get all this stuff started in the ditches without giant foxtail and other stuff crowding it out, and me having to go in there all summer and weed around this stuff, which would be near impossible. So I'm gonna get started on that. I'm trying to mix up my laser, which is my dye right there. I have one of them wind muffs over the microphone right now because it is windy out here. It's actually a very nasty day. That's a pretty good amount of dye. This is, I forget what the hell they make this out of, but it's non-toxic. It's just a dye. But it's a very potent dye, and it goes away. It takes a little while, but I'm going to add a little more. I really want to be able to see this. The ultraviolet rays from the sun get rid of the dye pretty quick, but sometimes it'll last for weeks and weeks, like if it's on the ground or something, but eventually it will go away. So what I got to do with this is fill it up to the 2-gallon mark and spray the area where I'm going to spray the Preemergent. I need to measure that area. Once I'm done, I'll go back and use my roller measure and figure out the square feet, figure out how much liquid it took to spray that square feet, that amount of square feet, and then do my calculations for how much Preemergent to add to each tank. I'm hoping it only takes 1 tank, but I think it takes 2 to do. I have a little garden here, 2 bigger ones, and then the little blue stem one, which is there and then goes over down into the hollow a bit. Before I do this though, I gotta get into the ditch, and I'm not sure what it's going to take. I usually weed whack it, but I'd kind of like to burn as well. But it looks like I'm going to have to get out the brush cutter with the string on it, go through it with that, and then I probably have to go back with the blade on it, because just over the course of last summer, there's a tree right there that is, at least 6 feet tall. I gotta cut that, and I'll put a little bit of Torton on it so it doesn't come back. So I might not even get to the spraying today, but while I'm over here, I want to get the laser in it. So first I gotta tackle the stuff that's in there now, the stuff from last year. So I gotta dig out my brush cutter and get to work on that. Okay, let's take a look at the ditch. I went and got the brush whacker. I could not find the gas for it. I have all my gas marked. This is for the Farmall, but it's actually for any of the tractors. I have to get this filled, so I grabbed it. That Ferguson will be running very soon, but it's going to need some of this stuff. I do have gas in it, but I will probably have to find that tank at some point. It's got the blade on it, so I'm going to leave that on there, because a lot of this stuff, like this right here, and all of these right through here, these iris, no, they're lilies. Those are a lot easier if you just hack it off with a blade. So I think I'm going to run through here with the blade. And when you got it real dense stuff like this, it just running the blade through there will get it down real quick. I would rather not scatter this all over the place, so maybe I can just run through here with the blade and then rake stuff down to the bottom, right down in here, and then burn it tomorrow. If I can get everything cut off at the base, just rake it down and torch it. It is quite nasty out. Today was supposed to be the perfect day for this, but again, they lied. I think I could probably hack those off as well, the corn stalks from last year. Let's take a look at that tree. I wanted to get rid of these raspberries this year. You know, I spend half the summer just trying to get rid of the suckers, but I'm not going to really have the time for it. This thick layer of gravel, that's from plowing over the winter. You get that much gravel in here every year, and then it gets pushed into the dirt, and then that's it. This was a sunflower. Some of this stuff, I mean, the whacker, that is a really powerful brush whacker, and it's got some real good string, but it wears down the string, tearing up this really heavy stuff, like a lot of the perennials. So here it is. I'm not 100% sure what it is. It kind of looks like a cherry, but this was not here in the spring. If you go back and look at the videos, there might have been a tiny little thing there, but this is all from one year, and it is about 8 feet tall. So that's how fast these weed trees will fill in your forest, or anywhere you got damage. If you get a fire or something like that, these will grow real quick. You could see where that's been cut down before, and it re-sprouted. So this time I'm going to get some Torden on there and get rid of it. See, it's already too late for a lot of these. These are weeds. It's already too late for them. Once they come up, Preemergent does no good on them because it only works on seeds. Stops seeds from germinating. Or stops them at a very early stage, I believe. And this is a weed. I'm not sure what the heck it is, but it is a weed. I do have to get rid of this stuff as well. This is all going to be wildflowers and prairie grasses. Once the prairie grasses start growing, not a lot of weeds can compete with them. So if you get a weed here and there, doesn't really matter. And then once the population of weeds goes down, there's no new seeds to start them up because most of them are annuals. So at some point this will completely naturalize and I won't have to do much of anything. There's another tree. Okay, take a look down here. This was tended to all last year. This is the little blue stem. In a few years or possibly next year, this will be burned early in the year. And that as well, that gets rid of, tree saplings and stuff like that, and a lot of the weeds. But this will get Preemergent sprayed mostly on this bare area, and then the plants in the greenhouse will be stuck in here and there throughout. Same thing with these gardens, but these gardens have flowers growing in them all over the place from the last few years of growing wildflower from seed here. This is what the heck is this? Can't even think of it right now, but those will be coming up in the not too distant future, so I got to get going on this. So I'm going to try to get everything down to the bottom, and then hopefully tomorrow I can burn. Today was supposed to be a low wind day, but it didn't happen. So I guess it'll have to be tomorrow. I'll fuel up the drip torch and get in and burn. All right, time to cut. Okay, got one more to do, and that is the one way up by the mailbox up there. The blade took care of all the standing stuff with the really hard stems. The rake pulls out this foxtail. Any kind of annual grass like that has really short roots. They spend the majority of their energy making seeds to come back next year. So the perennials, like the little blue stem here, grow really short the first year because they're putting down massive roots. The roots on this will get 6 feet deep, but big blue stem can get 12 feet deep. So big difference between the two. This will withstand burning easy because it has such deep roots and it doesn't start coming up. It's a warm season grass, so it doesn't really start coming up until the end of June. On the other hand, the weed grasses, the annuals, they come up very early. I'm shooting for 50 degrees. When the ground temperature is 50 degrees for a couple days in a row, that's when I want to spray the Preemergent. So I need to get this. You can't have a bunch of stuff laying on top of the ground when you spray Preemergent. You want to clean it up as much as possible so the Preemergent gets in contact with the ground. Then you need rain. You want it to wash in about 2 inches. And then what it does is as soon as the seeds germinate, it kills them off. Doesn't allow them to grow. And then it breaks down fairly quick, but by the time the Preemergent breaks down, the thread is already passed. This will already be planted with the stuff in the greenhouse. I may apply another pass of Preemergent about 3 months after the first. So if I do my spray tomorrow or maybe the day after, we call it the beginning of April, it'll be sometime beginning of July, do a second spray, and that'll keep the warm season weeds from coming up as well. The whole idea is to give my little plants a big head start because they're all perennials, and perennials grow so slow the first year that these annuals can choke them out real easy. The giant foxtail, I don't know, probably gets 4 or 5 feet tall, and it's just solid shade down by the ground. And having little perennials that don't get very big the first year, having them down at ground level, they're going to be killed. Or you got to get in here and weed, and there's no way I have the time to come out here and weed for a couple hours every day, and that's about what it takes. So that first garden is all foxtail and stuff, so I think I'm just going to rake that, and then I'm going to get in here and burn tomorrow. That'll about do it. I got everything down into the bottom so I can run the drip torch over it tomorrow. I'm hoping the weather is actually accurate for tomorrow. And then I'm going to take the blowtorch. I have a weed killer blowtorch. I'm going to take that to most of this stuff. Most of this is weed. Or actually, I believe all of it is weed. None of the perennials are up this early. So I'm going to take the blowtorch to this and knock this stuff out as well, and that'll burn some of this stuff along the edges. Get rid of that too. I want this as clean as possible, and then tomorrow I can spread the dye. I believe I'm going to measure this today, though. If I can squeeze in some time. It is really windy out here. Hopefully that's not messing up the audio. It's a very nasty day. So yeah, I have a few things. These are onions from last year. They came back, but other than that, almost everything that is growing right now and green is a weed. So you have pretty good control with that torch. It's like a walking stick. You just walk around and put the torch right on stuff, and it collapses their cells and kills it. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Today I have a track meet to get to very shortly. You have to travel so far for track meets that you got to get ready and leave way ahead of time. And it's probably noon now, but we got to leave in an hour or two. So that's going to wrap it up. I'd like to thank all of my subscribers. You're awesome people, every single one of you. And I forgot to mention, I haven't really told anybody that this channel exists. I wanted to give it a year and see if I felt like continuing it, and I will continue it. So I guess I'll start telling people about it, like my mom, my sister. Nobody knows about it. So the moratorium is off. I'll start telling people, I guess, here and there. So that'll about do it. Tomorrow, some big time burning action with the drip torch in here, so make sure you stop back and see that. Make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon so you're notified when I post the new videos. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.